Over here, these are mock oranges, right? So that's that one I told you about out front, the variegated mock orange.
Oh,
that everybody turns into a shrub and they cut it off.
Flowers.
Yeah, come here, come here. So this one's in bloom right now. This one just finished, but you can see they're trees, right? They're beautiful little trees, and they're on either side of my bedroom doors, and they create this little environment where I get to come here and have a cup of coffee in the morning or a beer in the evening and just enjoy my little piece of paradise. And it's all about creating space and using that space. So this is Trichoceros pachanoi, San Pedro, and I planted one cane here many years ago, and it grew up and it broke, and then that grew up and it broke and it produced more heads, and they just go about the tallest I ever see them is maybe about another 4 or 5 feet above where these are, a little bit taller than this. This one's supported by that branch, and so it might go a little bit longer, but
those are tall. Like, for reference, how tall are you, Norm?
I'm 6 feet tall.
You're 6 feet. Look at that. It's towering over you.
Yeah, and I've actually been out here when I heard, on a windy day, I hear it hit the ground. I mean, they're pretty heavy. And the best part is, one of them one day fell off, broke off, and it hit right there in the crotch of the mesquite tree, and it broke. And it's this one right here, right? It fell and it broke. And where it broke, the other side of it hit the ground, and I just left it there. It was attached for a long time. If we go around on the other side, I think we can still see it.
So this one broke.
Yeah.
It
the
fell
other piece
on the tree and broke.
Right, so the head hit the ground, and all of this has grown from where the head just hit. I didn't plant it. It just hit the ground and said, okay, I'm going to grow here.
Amazing.
Right? And so now I have it on both sides. And then I get lots of flowers. So some of the flowers don't produce. So these little fuzzy white buttons. So these are last year's. But over somewhere in here, I see the first blossom starting, the first bud starting to form. So yeah, and little spines, but mostly if you're careful, you can grab it and shake her, right? And then here, Agave Victoria Reginae. Behind that is one of the...
that's a decent size.
Yeah, that one's getting up there finally. And behind it is a Hesperalo, one of the larger Hesperallos. I think this one's Pink Parade. And then over here, Cleistocactus straussii, and she decided to put her first flower out today. So, and this is a really cool cactus, again, for vertical. If you have a small space, like up against a wall, and especially if it's fairly dark, because this is, if it's up against a white wall or a very light colored wall, it doesn't really show up that much. But against a darker wall, that silver, that white foliage really shows. So this is Silver Torch, Cleistocactus straussii.
So now we are at your backyard, Norm, and wow, look at this oasis in the desert.
Yeah. So this was a big lawn with 4 palm trees in the middle, and it was a beautiful lawn. There was a big hedge that separated the pool from this area, and I took it out even before the water crisis, because I wanted a garden of perennials and succulents and ground covers and flowers and wildlife rather than a lawn, and which takes less maintenance and it takes less water as well, but mostly I did it for the beauty. And I created the walking garden. So all these pathways come around, arch around, meet each other at different places, take you to the pool, take you to the back patio, but they all converge here in the center by the fire pit, which originally was a table, but my wife really wanted a fire pit, so that got changed. But it's a really nice gathering space. And the olive tree back here, you know, she's an old girl. She was probably planted in 1979, and we built the patio around her. And here we have some eucalyptus.
Oh, this is the one that smells good.
Yeah. Well, this one, actually, look at this one right here. Look up here. This is the state champion Eucalyptus polyanthemos silver dollar gum. And that's a big girl, right? Yeah. So she was here when I moved in. Now, all the eucalyptus in southern Nevada died, froze to the ground in 1989, 1990. We had a really, really cold winter, and none survived, except a few of them on the east side of the valley took some damage but survived. And this is one of the survivors.
Wow.
So she was, when I moved in 93, a few years later, she had some damage on you know, some of the smaller branches were still up there dead, and we pruned those out, and she's just a magnificent tree. I love her. When the winds come through, I worry about her breaking, but I also go off in the distance and I watch her because she does this crazy wild dance in the wind. It's really fun to watch. So here, this is one of the most visible spots of the garden. It's just really showy. And these were planted years ago. They got really big. But what I love about this is that you can see they're all different sizes, and they're not in a straight line. So somebody might want to be tempted to come and just put a line of them along the edge or a little bit further back, and then it looks very manufactured. But when you plant plants with different sizes or boulders of different sizes and bury them, and nothing is in a straight line, nothing. The pathways, all the pathways curve, everything curves, nothing's in a straight line. So this variation, this is what I call asymmetrical balance, where you have, it's balanced, it feels balanced, but it's not two here and two there, right? It's not exact, it's not rigid, right? And so when you combine different sizes of plants or different colors and different textures, so these are so bold and succulent and powerful, and then these little guys are so leafy, and you have the green and the silver and the gold, and there's some purple heart here and all these different colors, and then you get flowers too. You get all these incredible forms, and you bring that all together and let the plants do their thing, and then if you just give them enough room to grow, then you sit, you enjoy, you drink your wine, and you have a beautiful garden.
Or your coffee.
Yeah, or your coffee, right, right.
Look at this happy little ball right here.
Right, isn't that crazy? So I saw that, I don't remember where I saw that.
How many heads are on this thing?
What, 12?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
There's one in the back there you can barely see.
14, well, 14 from this side. I couldn't see the back side. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah. So sometimes, so you can see those other ones, one of them's got 4 or 5 pups. This one has 2, right? Most of them don't have any. And they just, you know, that's nature. And this one's a wild little thing.
I love
right?
this look. I love this look.
And remember how I told you I like to touch plants, right? This is not a fun plant to touch until it gets big enough, and then it has this very soft fuzz, right?
Isn't that like cotton?
Yeah, it feels very much like cotton. But if you go a little bit too far, you hit those spines. But just right, you want to try it? Be careful, slow. There you go. Yeah. So.
No.
No, you gotta go right in the center. If you go on the edge, right there, yeah.
Oh. This is so satisfying. The feel of it. Very soft.
Sorry, this is my favorite agave right here. This is
Which one is
agave
this?
Jaws, right? There's another one. Let's go look at this one.
Which one is this?
I think this is agave Jaws. So I'm
Wow,
not
look at
sure.
Edge.
Yeah,
The
here's a
teeth
big
on
one.
the edges of this one.
Look at this bad girl. Right? Look at those wicked thorns and the beautiful imprint on the leaf all along here, right? You can see where those thorns were when they were folded up. Look at that right there. You can just see it so clearly, right? And then the thorns have these wild, twisted, just, I mean, it just looks
Like they left their picture on the leaf.
yeah, that's them.
Image. How did you get into plants and gardening? Was it like a passion you had since you
No.
were a child?
No, it's kind of funny. I had a job working at the city dump, right?
City dump?
At the dump, right?
Okay. How did we get to gardening then?
So what happened is I wasn't allowed to salvage, right? To take the metals and stuff. There was a lot of metal, and I'm an environmentalist. I know recycling's important, so I would, get it out of there, right? But my boss was on the take, and his boss was on the take, but the big boss wasn't, and I knew someday I'd get fired. So when I was waiting to get fired, it took about 3 years. I made a lot of extra money, by the way. And after, I thought, what am I going to do, right? And in Vegas in the 80s, my bosses were never nice to me. I got yelled at, right? And kind of verbally abused. And I thought that's how it was supposed to be. I didn't know any better. But I didn't like it, and I wanted to work for myself. And every day when I worked at the dump, these guys would come up with pickup trucks loaded with grass, and they work for themselves. And I thought, a pickup truck, a mower, a blower, a weed eater. I didn't have a blower at first, but I bought one pretty quick. So I just went into work for myself. I went out and I got some accounts, and I started mowing grass and trimming hedges. And people would ask me questions, and I didn't know the answers. So this is pre-internet. I'd go to the library and I'd try and look stuff up. But it was really interesting. And then somebody told me about a class at the college, and that started me down the rabbit hole. And it was interesting. And as I did it, so I quit my business to go to work for the water district so I could learn about the desert plants. And I would go out there and I'd learn at night, and I'd go and I'd be out in the field in the day, and it started giving me goosebumps. I would get goosebumps on my arms, and if I was really excited, it'd be on my legs and on my back. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool, right? I would take my lunch breaks in fields of flowers. I would work on trees. I'd visit the hummingbirds and the butterflies, and it was just nature, and I got to play with her. And so
you found your passion.
Yeah, so here we are. And then I took that passion and I brought it home. So this tree here, this beautiful Chinese pistache, I found her growing in my veggie garden back there. It used to be my veggie garden. It's where my chickens are now. She was that big. She was this little thing, right? And when she turned red in the fall, you're a Chinese pistache. That's who you are. So in 2000 or 2001, I do a radio show called Desert Bloom on our NPR station, KNPR. And Flo Rogers came over and we recorded it. I moved that tree in my garden from there to here because I wanted shade on the house. And so that's my little baby. And she's all grown up. But that's just growing right out of the rock. Right? So she's just right there.
How did that get in there?
She just did it herself.
It's growing out of a rock.
Yeah. Here.
Amazing.
Is it a barrel?
Yeah, it's one of the little native barrels.
But because it's growing out of the rock, it got like bonsai.
Right. No, this is Johnsonii. This is actually a really small one. And I think this one's really quite old. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's 20 years or more. Neoloidea Johnsonii, I believe.
And
so sometimes the names
it's growing
come back.
well, so just kept it in there. Wow.
Yep.
You know what? You can take this in a show, in a cactus show, and just like that.
Yeah.
I think that will win a ribbon. Natural staging.
Right. Right, yeah, I couldn't have done that if I tried.
These are flying. Oh, this is a flying saucer.
This is flying saucer.
Wow.
And she sprawled out. And you can see one of them went in there, and she actually bloomed in the center, right? But since then, she spilled out, and she's coming out over there, right? And so it just kind of sprawls out like this giant octopus. And usually before this, they start producing these, but now she's starting to produce them.
See, I have not seen them this big. I have one in a pot that's that size, and then one in the ground, but it's about this tall right here. But I have not seen it grow like this.
Yeah, this is just her natural sprawling habit. So like you can see right here, this one broke off at this point and then grew up and then broke again at that point. Now she's growing up. This one grew up in there, got heavy enough, and just twisted and laid over. So this is, I think, its natural habit. And on a windy day, one day I'll come out and this one will be broken, right? The same is true of this Trichoceros, right? Just, you can see she's sprawling, laying on the ground and moving out, and eventually some of that tissue dies off. So there's part of the plant right there. That's long since dead, right? But we still have root here, live tissue here. We have tissue that's died off, but there's still vascular tissue supporting this. We got a new pup coming up here, little baby there. So it's just their natural habit of getting around, I guess.
And surviving.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, some people might not like this, might not want to see that. But to me, it's just kind of celebrating the natural things that plants do. And I'm very accepting of that.
Right.
And then you got here. So I love some of the aloe veras, the way they.
Is this an aloe vera?
Yeah. So some of them. So I think they're both aloe vera. Some of them are much more green, and some of them have more of a gray, green, and purple hue to them. And I really like that gray-green color because it kind of pops. You can see it off in the distance there. There's some going. And then these flower spikes. So I really like to touch plants, right? And I've discovered that just feels good. It just has this really wonderful texture. Right now the flowers are opening down here. Again, a little pollen coming off. And, a hummingbird's probably watching you like, dude, what are you doing? Right? But there's this. So don't be afraid, be cautious and thoughtful, but don't be afraid to touch your plants. And, it's up to you, of course, but the community, look, I grow plants and I figured out they grow me, right? It's a mutually, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Norm, what are the biggest challenges of gardening in a desert?
Oh, probably more than anything else, I think our soils. Our soils are very alkaline. And a lot of plants like alkaline soils, but some don't. And those are the ones that tend to develop nutrient deficiencies. And then you got to fertilize them. You got to fertilize them with micronutrients, and that's a whole nother story. But it goes back to that garden saying that I think encapsulates what I think is the key to successful gardening, and that is put a plant where it wants to be, give it room to grow, and then drink coffee, right? If it's got room to grow and it's happy and healthy, it's beautiful, and you enjoy it, and you don't have to do anything, or you don't have to do that much. And I guess the other potential challenge of gardening anywhere is that there's death of plants. That's always part of it. So if you go around my garden, there's a lot of really beautiful, healthy plants. But what you won't see are all the dead plants I've already taken out, right? And that's just part of gardening. And so you try and learn from those, either your mistakes or what went wrong or why it didn't work, right? And then you pick up and you move again and you celebrate your successes. And if you just play with plants, and I think that's another thing that really helps. I don't like to work in my garden. I like to play in my garden. So I put my pruners on, and I have my Leshy digging tool.
You have to have fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I go out, you know, and I do a little pruning, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
You do pruning with that.
It's a nice folding, but it's in my pocket, right? So I can put on, you know, and I bring safety glasses and gloves, and it's everything I need, right? And I'll do a little weeding, right? I'll pop this under, pop the weeds out. I'll do a little pruning on the pomegranate, or this red bud over here needs a little work. Take out some dead wood. I do some transplanting, and I do it for half an hour, or an hour, or 2 hours. But I don't have to work all day, and I won't spend the whole day weeding ever. But I'll go out there and I'll pull them out before they go to flower, right? So it's learning your garden, learning your plants, and again, you grow them, but they grow you, and that's ultimately what, to this day, it keeps me captivated and still gives me goosebumps. And nature becomes part of your life, and you know, how do you beat that? Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us about your business?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been in business about 20 years ago. I founded it about then, and I did it. I worked for the water district for 9 years. I took care of the desert demonstration gardens. I went to UNLV, took care of the campus and arboretum. I was teaching classes, and people would come to me every class I taught during the break after the class, say, who do you recommend? And you know, I didn't really see a company I felt comfortable recommending, so I decided I'd create that company. We're very thoughtful and knowledge-based in our work, so we really want to understand the plants and how they do well and where they do well. And so we take those plant sciences, that plant knowledge, and combine that with good craftsmanship and art. And all of those things really appeal to me, but it's the art and the incorporation of nature into our daily lives, into our homes, whether it's your home where you live or your home where you visit, or the home you visit, or the workplace. This is gardens, trees, the urban forest. It makes us healthier and happier. There's a lot of studies that show plants have a huge impact on our lives. And so Schilling Horticulture is dedicated to creating beautiful space based on what people want. It's not my job to tell them. So we do design and installation, we do renovation, we have maintenance crews to take care of the properties that we've built, and we have a really amazing tree crew, and I do consultations. And it's challenging, but it's always interesting, and I'm always learning. And one of the great blessings for me as a horticulturalist is I do those consultations. I think I've done like maybe 15,000 over the years, right? I go to people's homes and I see what's doing well and what's not. And so those people and their gardens and their plants teach me. And that's the thing. If you're really into plants, the plants will teach you. I tell people, look, if you like plants, if you're interested in plants, you have a green thumb. You might not be good at it yet, but you have a green thumb. So when I started, I didn't really know what I was doing, right? But I would do some research. I took some classes. I got a couple degrees at the college, and I built this company, and now we get to do this kind of work.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So this is octopus agave. Look at all that pollen just flying, right? Aww.
Oh,
and
death bloom.
Yeah, look at all that. I've been pollinated. Yeah, you can see them working their way up. And with octopus agave, after it blooms, it will produce literally hundreds and hundreds of vegetative offsets, hundreds and hundreds of babies, right? And so I can replace this. The only problem is so if you look at this,
that's like a codex oh no, is that a pot?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it's a codex.
Right.
Wait, it's growing in a pot?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been there for years, right? And it tapped through the bottom. She's broken the bottom, and in The Simpsons, there's a character named Sideshow Bob. It always reminded me of Sideshow Bob, right? And now,
from afar, I thought that was a codex, and it was growing out of that pot. This huge one here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry to see her go. Yeah, it happens. That's the downside of agaves, that and the weevils.
Norm, I also heard that you do a radio program about gardening.
Yeah.
Is it still ongoing?
Yeah, it's with our national public radio station, KNPR, Nevada Public Radio. I'm a big fan of public radio. I always have been. And for over 20 years now, I've been doing a program called Desert Bloom. My co-host is Angela Callahan, who recently retired from the Cooperative Extension Service. And it's a little 4 or 5 minute spot that they air once in a while. It's kind of sporadic here lately. I've been working so much, I haven't done that many. But we aired a few in the past couple months. And it's 88.9 FM. And they also do a program called State of Nevada, which is a really interesting program about local events here in the state, especially in southern Nevada. 4 or 5 times a year they do the gardening roundtable, and I think I'm always part of that. So it's a question and answer call-in thing, and it's a blast. I really have fun doing it. This is my pomegranate, and she's in this little planter by a wall, right? But she's not that big, so she'll probably never break the wall, right? You can plant fruit trees by walls. And when I moved in here, she's been here 30 plus years, because she was already here. I don't remember how big she was, but she wasn't this big.
That's what it looks like?
Huh?
Ours don't look like that.
Yeah, so this is a pomegranate. And I told
30
her...
years.
Huh?
30 years, you said, right?
Yeah, over 30. Yeah, I've been here 31, and she was here when I got here.
Because ours is like a shrub.
Right. And so she is too. And so the thing is, you'll see she has 4 trunks. And I told her, you can grow that way, you can grow that way, you can grow up, and when you get tall enough you can spread out, but you can't grow here, right? Because I need this pathway. So she's now 26 feet in spread by 3 or 4 feet, right? So by pruning, you can, working with Mother Nature, work her into a space. Work with a tree, with its natural form, into a space. Then the fruit forms, and it turns red, and it's like Christmas ornaments in a tree. And then they split open, or start to split. I harvest some. They're delicious. They're organic. She gives me about 150 fruit a year that range in size from about that, and some of them are about like that.
Oh.
And then she turns gold, this just incredible yellow gold in the fall before she drops her leaves. And this wall is always in shade, so her foliage lights up, and it's just this color show. And it's my girlfriend.
You recently opened your own nursery.
Yeah.
What is your nursery called?
It's called Mojave Bloom Nursery. I opened with a couple of partners, Miriam and Andrea, and it's a small nursery. We're located just a little bit north of the Spaghetti Bowl, north of downtown, just off of Las Vegas Boulevard, down the road from the Neon Museum and the Museum of Natural History. It's at 1401 Searles. And the purpose of the nursery is to bring in some of the really cool plants that are hard to find in Vegas, or you just can't find because for whatever reason the big box nurseries decided not to carry them. And for years I can't find them. So we, as Schilling Horticulture, we order plants in from out of town because there's a lot of great plants that you can't find here. But homeowners can't find them, right? They can't wait for an 18-wheeler to come to their house. It doesn't work that way. So we want to bring those plants in. Sometimes they're hard for us to find them. But we're looking for them, and then when we find them, we'll bring them in, and they'll get sold, and something else will show up. So I think our stock is going to be constantly changing, always new stuff coming in. And the other thing is we carry a really nice selection of good quality pots. Those are pretty hard to find here in Vegas, with really lots of different colors and patterns and sizes, and they're hot fired, so they're well built. They're longer lasting. They're nice solid clay, a hot fired clay. And there's a really, really cute indoor garden, a little warehouse space, and a shop inside of that. And it's beautiful. And here's the thing. It's not like a nursery where everything's all in rows. it's a communal space. There's a couch and an end table and some chairs over here. There's seating areas and egg chairs, and it's just a place to hang out, come and bring your coffee and just sit and enjoy. And
what days are you open?
Let's see, we're dark on Mondays. We're open Tuesday through Sunday. Every other day we're open 8 to 2 except Saturdays 8 to 4. And for the whole month of April and much of May, I'm teaching a class every morning at 9 a.m. on different topics. Yesterday it was about watering in the desert. I don't remember what next week is. We're going to do one on design. We're going to do one on tree care, pruning, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's a half-hour class. Sometimes, because of the way I am, it runs longer, and it's a lot of information. I want to share it. But then we do a little walk around the nursery, talk about some of the different plants and what they do, what they bring to your garden, and then we do questions and answers. And so usually all together, I mean, you can come and go whatever you want, but it's about an hour and a half, something like that. But it's fun, I really enjoy it, and I'm a pretty energetic speaker, and there's cool plants.
I am looking forward to visiting your nursery.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next time in the next. I'm planning to go there. So maybe in a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
I hope to see you there in your nursery.
Well, we're going to be getting some really nice, opuntias there.
So Norm, I really enjoyed your tour of your little garden here in Las Vegas. This inspires me a lot to do more in my garden, to improve my garden. I've seen a lot of plants here that I did not know about until now that you showed them to me.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for coming. I really enjoyed sharing the garden with you. And, hopefully you can come back maybe when some of the opuntias or the flying saucers in bloom, So, yeah. But thank you.
All right. Thank you.